Hey everybody, this is Rob from the Chateau de la Grifferaie. Excited to be here for Christmas Eve. Second last day of this series and the night before Christmas. Very exciting. We're going to have a great video. It's going to be super fun. As you can probably tell, we're back in the United States. We shot footage of ourselves coming back just so you can kind of get a feel of what it's like to travel in Europe. Then we thought it might be nice to do some questions, to answer some questions that have come on the video here in Portland. Then also we want to show some footage of both of our kids are here. Leslie's been reunited with Mr. Bingley. Wait for it. It's a great shot towards the end. Seeing our kids has been fantastic. We have some news there. Very exciting news. Very exciting. And we're going to shoot our little Christmas Eve dinner tonight. We're doing it one night early because Kim is a nurse and she has to work on Christmas Eve. So it's the best case for everybody. It's going to be great. Thanks for coming along. And here we go. So taking the train in Europe, first of all, you look at the big monitors and you figure out when your train, which gate your train's going to. Then you take your ticket on your phone and show it to those nice people. Then you come through. And then you got to figure out where on the train you're at. And so they have these nice handy maps. We're in carriage 2. And so you can see carriage 2 is at T. So now we have to find T. And where are we? You are. Yes, we've spotted the letters. There's the U. So one more to go, right? T-U-V. Ah, here we are. There's the T over to your right. And that's our train, 11:30. By the way, this train, 1 hour and a half from Angers to Paris, and only $18. All right, on the way home to see our kids. Woo! And Monsieur Bingley. Mr. Bingley, are you excited, Bess? Mr. Bingley, 6 weeks. Longest you've ever been away from Mr. Bingley. All those cute little curls. His little white hair. Here we go. They're building that tower back up. And here we have a little bonus Christmas market. Because it's on the way to the restaurant we're going to.
Walk the Bingley.
Yeah, this is where Bingley normally comes and chases rats.
You're not wrong.
Polar bear, reindeer. Leslie's looking at scarves. More sausages. Ah, there's the hot wine Vin showed. Ooh, a little bakery. Yeah. I think that's too much for even Leslie. I don't think she can even handle one that big. Now we're in Paris, so our first thought was to go to a cool, a really cool French restaurant. But between the timing and the complexity of the day, we decided to go to this Italian place we were at a couple of years ago. Amazing place. Just totally missed the best thing. They took a big bunch of our Rego and shook it. And that's how I got my oregano. And there's your pistachio pasta.
I know, I'm very excited.
Good.
Hello! I know Hi!
Oh, there he is. Good morning, everyone. As we get to the end of this series, Rob and Leslie's French Advent 2023, we thought it might be nice to answer some of your questions. So we're gonna take some time and look through some of the comments on the recent YouTube videos and try to answer the questions the best we can. Enjoy. Well, it's a full day today. It's exciting to be back. We're having our Christmas Eve because Kim is a nurse and she's working on the real Christmas Eve. As you can see, this guy, hello, everybody's happy to see Mr. Bingley. But we wanted to get a video in, and now that my computer's repaired, we're able to do a video. And so we thought, you know what, let's answer some of the questions. We get a lot of questions on the YouTube videos, and we don't always answer them, sometimes because other videos have answered them. We don't want to repeat ourselves. And sometimes just because we got a lot going on. But we had some time, we thought, hey, let's answer some questions. So a big day, lots of fun. By the way, Leslie very busy because very fancy, fun dinner we're gonna have tonight, which we'll put on the camera. Lots of good things coming in this video. Okay, so first question, why don't you guys put in double glazed windows? That would solve the fog. People say, hey, put in double glazed windows, there won't be any fog. What do you think, Bess?
Oh, that'd be great.
Would love to.
How many windows do we have, Rob?
212.
Yeah, that's problem number one. Problem number two is they'll probably likely that usually when we've seen Chateau where they replace, they're usually vinyl and you lose all the cool decorative hardware. Now I know we could do wood again. It's more money, obviously, and you can get new old looking hardware. I get it, but you know, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah,
it all adds up.
We had a quote for $150,000 to do the windows, but again, like as Leslie says, you look at some of these Chateau with them, and they're pretty. Like it's very PVC. It just doesn't feel very Chateau. And by the way, if you look at our Chateau, the beautiful crosses.
Oh,
I mean,
and how
beautiful.
tall are our windows?
Oh, some of our windows are 10 feet tall and 6 feet across.
It's not the same as when we just replace windows here in North America. They're very, very large, and there's a lot of them.
So again, you got to live in the real world with real money, so we can't afford it.
And normally it's totally fine.
Yeah. And even if we could afford it, we're not completely sure. We'll eventually get a window thing going where we refurbish all the windows really well.
Yes.
But there will always be an issue with humidity in the house. Yeah. Speaking of that, why don't you rent out the gîtes? Some people say, why don't you rent out the gîtes?
We don't have any gîtes.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
we don't have any. Some Chateau do. We do not. We have the stables, which maybe someday will be more housing. But other than that, we don't have any other buildings other than the restaurant, but who wants to live there? So we just don't. We don't have that part of the property.
I noticed a lot. We need to fix them up first, but also we can't make income right now with our visa is another issue. Yeah. There's several people that had an underlying current, and it was well intended to say, hey, why don't you guys be a little bit more businessy so you can get some money? We're not against the idea of being smart. For sure, but you also have to think about like economies of scale, or you have to think of return on investment. I'm just throwing out business terms. It feels like, but so for example, could we do? Somebody said, could you make like the slate into like little crafts that you sell? Yeah, I mean maybe we could sell them for $20, but it would take like an hour to make it, and then you got to ship it, and so by the end maybe you make $3 or $4 of profit off that. And that's that's not necessarily our gift, making these things. Plus, even if you did, there's not a lot of revenue. Whereas if we have a school group in for something, they could bring in $10,000 or $20,000 of revenue in a couple of weeks. So it's just a way better, financial use of the building rather than kind of nickel and diming.
It's not to say we won't have things in the future, maybe. Like, I think when we're there more, when we have fruit, we'll do things that on site, maybe, like honey or jams, or, Chateau, stuff like that. Maybe for when people are with us, when the students are with us and stuff like that. But just in terms of international shipping and just all of that kind of stuff, I just am not really interested in starting an Etsy shop and doing that right now. I just think it's going to be more hassle than it's actually worth for us at this point.
So who knows? Down the road, we may have gîtes, but again, $100 a night, that's not going to take you very far with a big Chateau like we've got. You have to be a little bit more, you almost have to think bigger. So it's not that we're anti-business. We're just...
Well, right now, we can't also do...
Yeah, no, that's the issue too. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. This one, like, sometimes people say, why don't you insulate the ceiling? And that question is kind of similar to the windows, and it's also similar to folks that say, why don't you just cover the gutters so nothing gets in? You really have to come to the Chateau and get a sense of the scope and the size of how big this building is.
I don't know where that photo is of us when we first bought the house, but there's a picture of us in front on the steps, and here's the house. I don't know if you can see that. We're very tiny in perspective to how big the house is when you see yourself standing in front of it. It's just tall.
It's just
really, really
building.
big, and it's very, very long all the way around. And there's actually no trees right next to it, so I don't. Maybe there'll be a gutter stuff with the pigeons gone, so there'll be less droppage, and stuff like that. But we don't know yet, so we'll see. Yeah,
and now several people have also made the comment, hey, the reason why your paint's peeling and all of that is because there's been so much moisture coming in from the roof. That's probably partly true. And so the follow-up comment people usually say is, you should give it a few months, like half a year, for it to dry out. And that's also a good point. Will the Chateau be dry once the roof is... No, the Chateau will still have moisture issues.
So you see, the walls are stony, so all the way around and on other floors. So the moisture gets into the stone.
Leaches.
Tuffeau
up.
Is very, very soft. It's a marble, like limestone. So it will absorb moisture, which it's supposed to do. It'll retain heat. It'll keep things cool. It's a very cool substance God made. However, it has to breathe. It's like a person.
Yeah.
It breathes. So it's just what it is.
There will, even when there's no water coming in the top, which again will help a lot, there will still be water leaching up from the ground because that stone all comes into contact with the ground and it works its way up.
Even from the outside, not even just the ground.
If you haven't, and again, we're still new to Europe, but if you haven't lived in Europe, it's hard to understand it, but it's just a different mentality. You don't seal the building up with forced air heat. You have to open the windows so air comes through, and that's how you beat mold. Us living out there is definitely going to help because we're going to have more movement.
Yeah.
We'll heat the house a little bit.
Yeah.
Brings us to the next question. Why don't you heat the floors, or why don't you put in pellet stoves, or why don't you put in, there's a lot of recommendations on how to heat.
Sure.
So what do you think?
I mean, in-floor heating, delightful. Put it in for many people before. The floors are just different. Here, I don't think we're going to do a lot of in-floor heating. Maybe in the basement. That would be interesting.
It's not going to happen.
But I don't know if it's helpful.
It's not going to happen because there's 20,000 square feet.
And it's electricity again, so it's more money again. I'm not sure it's helpful, particularly, and certainly not all over. But in a bathroom, I could see maybe we could sneak it in. However, when it comes to heating in general, yes, that's going to be a bigger thing to target in the near future. That will continue. We've tried to peck away at it every time we would go out, and we've been hitting what do they call them, like milestones? We've been hitting barriers to accomplish things like chimneys. We've had several trades out, and they all just go no.
Yeah, a lot of people ask us about the chimneys and we'd love to line a chimney. That would be the best situation for us. The people we've had out, we've paid a good amount of money, and then they come back and say you can't do it. The chimney's just in too bad shape and there's too much stuff. And so that's been kind of a closed door to this point.
So we'll keep working on it.
Okay, we'll stop for a break. Okay, try not to use the word however as in between sentences.
Moving on.
Okay, sounds good. The other thing you have to understand about heating is we never went into this thinking that this was going to be a comfortable 12-month place to live. It's just too cold, and there's too much air movement. There's too many windows, and so the idea of trying to heat the place is not cost effective for what we're kind of doing. You could be, if you're as rich as the guys that originally made it, or you had all those fires, you could manage that, but we're not.
They wouldn't even have had the full house.
They closed it down. It was like a seasonal. A lot of these places were summer lodges, so we never bought it thinking we were going to operate it in December and January.
Even the thought of the old layout of having each room has separate doors, right? Because they would have had fireplaces. They retained the heat in each whatever room they had put it, on for fire. So. Not a big shock. So
yeah, some people are kind of made a good point. They say your insurance. A lot of people won't insure the Chateau if you have wood heating. Not an issue for us because we've had a very difficult time insuring the Chateau. So we just don't want a fire. People have also asked about fires. They've said, hey, what about using those old lighting fixtures? Aren't you worried you're going to burn the Chateau down? Yes and no. For one reason, most of the walls are stone. So there's wood. I mean, we saw the Notre Dame fire right up in the attic, especially up there. There's potential for fire, but most of the house, there's a lot of stone. So it would definitely be more difficult for there to be a fire. We are concerned about electrical. My understanding of electrical fires, and I've looked into it a little bit. I'm not an electrician, but it's generally faulty wiring or shorts. Obviously you want the light to trip and the breakers to trip, which they've been doing a pretty good job of doing. They trip pretty easily. Mm-hmm. If there's a short, it trips, and that's what happens. So if your wire is thick enough, then it doesn't overheat and start a fire. But even the wires going through concrete walls, my suspicion is that they're going to trip before they start a fire. So yeah, are we worried a little bit? But not. What are you going to do? You do the best you can. Try to wire it good. Okay, let's read another question here. Somebody asked if there were regulations that prevented us, that kind of spoke to how we had to do the roof in the stables.
No.
No, we don't think so because it's not a listed building.
So in Europe, it's a thing called being listed, and that's when you get government assistance and you're part of like a preservation society where it's a certain age or something like, or significance, palace, those kind of things.
You have to use their trades.
Yes. So you would then, they'd have a list of tradespeople and a list of
architects,
but also a list of supplies that you have to use, and it has to be exactly the same as they would have used in the 17th century or whatever century you're working on. And we knew that when we were buying Chateau, we couldn't buy a listed one. We just don't want to play in that arena. We don't have budgets to play with having original whatever. So we're doing our best to stay true to the architecture and the era of its beginnings, but we just wanted to be able to do a lot of the work ourselves, and also, you know, if we want to fudge things, and we can.
Yeah, no, and we're not fudging anything, but
in terms of
we're not gonna,
in terms of
we're gonna use modern water systems, and we're gonna use modern electricity.
Of course, but like in terms of, we do have the slate on the roof. The roofers just told us to. It's the same slate that they use on Notre Dame. So we do have historically accurate slate on the top of the Chateau right now. But when it comes to like the stable carriage house building, I don't care what we use particularly at this point. So it's we're not held to any standard of we absolutely have to. And I wanted that wiggle room so that when we're doing renos or we're doing certain things, we have the ability to make the choice of, yes, let's go hardcore, or let's not.
It's a function of necessity. Now sometimes people are kind of like they're, again, most of the comments are very nice. We have had a couple say, hey, like, why'd you buy this thing if you can't afford to do it? Well, if I can push back a little bit, if you'll allow me to, there are 40,000 chateaux in France, and there are a lot that are completely empty and are dying. And so there is more than enough chateau to go around to be preserved. And so I think even having someone that's doing the best they can, like ourselves, is a lot better than it sitting empty and dying. Yeah. With the stables, it's obviously we'd love to have slate on it maybe someday. But for now, we think, you know, if we get metal roof on it, that buys us another 30 to 40 years. Even asphalt shingles, which is not popular in Europe, but as North Americans, we're totally fine with them. We would see that even as an interim step, that would be good for the building and perfectly adequate.
Yeah. And it preserves until we can get to it better. Yeah. Next.
Some people have asked, why don't you guys have dehumidifiers?
Well, we do have one.
We do.
Which we got early on when we were starting getting some water issues right above our bedroom. Obviously, I have asthma, so mold isn't great for me.
No.
So we do have one, which has been great. Honestly, it's just money. That's it. More would be great, but we only can spend money on what we can spend money on.
Yeah, so. you have to pick your battles. Yeah. We may buy one or two more. The long-term plan is to probably get heat pumps installed in some of the spaces, which will dry it out, but also those have dehumidification a lot of times. So that'll be really helpful. A very efficient way to do it. In the interim, we may buy one or two more because they do work really well. Yeah. The point is well taken. Now, this is an interesting one. We've been getting a bunch of texts, and I don't know if this is a scam or not. Some of you European guys can tell us. We got a bunch of texts from CPO, who sells us our fuel, saying, hey, there's all these grants, you know, to put heat pumps in. And there's a company that's kind of like, hey, we'll do it for $1, €1 kind of thing. And it sounds too good to be true. So I'm skeptical as anything. I've Googled it, but if you know anything about this, you know, I mean, that seems like a really good move for us if it's real. But yeah, seriously, in the comments, if you know anything, very interested to hear. We've read that there are grants. France does give grants. We've
read the articles that are out there already so far, but if you've had any, like,
personal
especially if you're in France and you've had personal experience, with anybody doing that would be awesome.
Yeah. Let's see if that's all. Solomentos, regulations, lighting, dehumidification. I think that's pretty much it.
Nice.
Yeah, you know, keep firing your questions away. We'll try to get to them, you know, on a video or two. Again, we're back here now for a few weeks, getting this house packed up and getting ready to come back. It's been a whirlwind. It's been super fun. We're going to show you some shots. We have a beautiful day today. We have all of our kids here. We've got Amy and David, Kim and Isaac. That's Amy's boyfriend. And we're all going to go to church. We're going to eat a great meal. And then we may even have some updates later in the video. We'll see. You guys had manicures today,
Amy did, yeah.
Oh, you didn't do one?
You know what? Christmas, it's a lot of dishwashing. Who's kidding who? I'm not going to spend money on a manicure.
Yeah.
And I don't do them very much just because they just don't stick. I'm in the water too much.
I don't know that much about, ladies, but I know that there are some times when a manicure is a good thing. And so we thought maybe it was a good thing this season. And anyways, keep watching the end of the video. Oh, look at that. There's Mr. Bingley and Kim. Oh,
that's adorable.
And there's Mr. Bingley's older brother.
Oh,
yeah, there we go. Here's our family. Yay. Look, there's Isaac and Amy. There's David and Kim. Yay. Where's Mr. Bingley?
He's right here.
There's Mr. Bingley.
Let's look up.
He's looking for food. Everybody's enjoying some nice sticky toffee pudding for dessert. Merry Christmas, everyone. Oh,